This is a life lesson. In 2020, a firefighter, David, was urgently called to a burning house. Upon arriving, the frantic homeowner, Mr. Drew, shouted, "Why did you take so long to get here? Don't you know my house is burning down?" David calmly responded, "I'm sorry, I wasn't at the station, and I came as fast as I could after receiving the call. Firefighters can't prevent all fires, but we will do our best." "It's easy to say that when you're not the one affected," Mr. Drew grumbled. The firefighting effort lasted several hours. Afterward, David emerged, relieved. "Thank goodness we managed to save most of your house," he said. Without waiting for Mr. Drew's reply, he hurriedly left. "Why is he so dismissive? He couldn't spare a moment to let me ask about my home's condition," Mr. Drew said to a neighbor. The neighbor replied, "David's own house caught fire yesterday. He was there trying to salvage what he could when he got the call about your house. Now that he has helped you, he has gone back to deal with his own loss. Never be too quick to judge anyone."
Who could have thought? 3 girls boasted about their father. The first girl said, "My father is a famous doctor." The second girl boasted, "My father is a renowned artist." When it was Kate's turn, she said, "My father is just a poor man." The other girls laughed at her. Later that day, Kate's father came to pick her up in his old truck. As Kate got into the car, she asked, "Dad, why are you so poor?" Her father smiled and said, "How has been your day, my dear?" Years passed, and Kate went to an academy in the city. She stopped talking to her father. A few weeks later, her mother visited Kate. "Your father is very ill," she said. Kate replied, "That man is not my father." "Kate, your father was once a successful businessman, but when you were a baby, his business partner got greedy and kidnapped you, demanding your father gave up his investment and wealth. He sacrificed everything to get you back. Since then, he has been poor." Kate quickly called her dad, tears flowing. "Appreciate sacrifices."
What is a simple but yet powerful fundamental truth? The life of this man reveals this. Palmer, a high-powered executive who earned a fortune but kept it a secret from his family. He created a complex web of secret bank accounts to hide his wealth. He even created a fake persona to convince his family that he was barely scraping by. He was living large, spending thousands on champagne and private tables with his friends. When his wife and children found out, Palmer chose to neglect them instead of apologizing. He thought he had it all until he needed a cornea transplant. The doctor said, "You need a family member to donate or you'll lose your sight." Jack was forced to turn to his family, whom he had neglected. His daughter, whom he had ignored for years, offered to donate her cornea. This broke Palmer. "I was wrong, was so wrong. I'm sorry." His daughter replied, "We're family and we forgive you. But next time, put family first." Palmer realized at this moment, family is one thing that truly matters, not his lies or keeping secrets.
A woman and her husband were on their way to a dinner party when they saw an elderly man collapse on the sidewalk. The husband wanted to help, but the wife insisted, "We'll be late and everyone will judge us for bringing a stranger along. Let's go." Despite her protests, the husband helped the man, called an ambulance, and stayed until help arrived. The wife was furious, drove off, and left him. Years later, their daughter needed a rare medication that was only available through a long, bureaucratic process. They needed to secure an appointment with a specialist, but it was a bit tight. Desperate, the wife tried every contact she had, but to no avail. A few days later, the husband was contacted by the hospital. Turns out that old man is the father of the renowned specialist and had facilitated their appointment. He left a note for them at the hospital reception saying, "You helped me once when no one else did. I'm grateful." The wife, filled with tears, realized the man she had once ignored had now saved their daughter's life. A young man named George was on a crowded bus during rush hour. He sat near the front, engrossed in his phone, while others stood in the aisle. An older woman struggled to maintain her balance as the bus jerked forward. She politely asked George if she could kindly give up his seat for her, but there was no response. Annoyed passengers began to whisper about George's rudeness, wondering why he didn't offer his seat. Finally, a middle-aged man tapped him. "Even if you wouldn't give up your seat for her, at least why not acknowledge her?" George looked up, startled, and responded, "I'm sorry. I didn't notice. I'm partially deaf and can't hear the noise around me well. I rely on my phone's alerts for communication." The passengers fell silent, realizing they had judged him without understanding his situation. The middle-aged man apologized, learning that things aren't always as they seem, and everyone faces their own challenges.